Okay, we're back. We had stopped with this button, and I don't know how to change its color. Maybe it's in Tools Options. Let's see. Option Strings, Fonts, Format, Searching, Bible Versions, Updates. This was the thing I was talking about earlier in the option flag, the other way that you can configure updates. Remember, I couldn't figure out what it was except from the options flag. See, you have in your options flags, you have this. Okay, but there, I told you there was another way, but I couldn't remember where it was. Here's where it is. Okay, so, investigate that. This is for, this one in particular is for adding options, adding Bibles. Let's say you set up your initial installation, just a few Bibles, and you want to add them. You want to click on this proceed button, and then you're going to have to get your CD. If you ordered it on CD, or the download will automatically have that stuff on your machine, and that way you can add other Bible versions. It's kind of confusing because it presents you with a list of what you've already downloaded, and that makes you think that it's going to re-download what's already there, but it won't. Okay, so this is your other way of doing the updates, and I've used this before and it's worked pretty well. Okay, but as for this, I'm not sure. Analyzing the text, viewing the text, apply colors to selected text, choose a, it's like, but there's no text. Oh, there we go. All right, see, that's not clear. That's not clear. See, tools, viewing the text, it says apply the colors. It doesn't say select what colors you want to apply. It just says apply them. So that's confusing. But what it really means is select the color, see? So here's your text color, which I don't happen to like. You get sharper contrast if you use dark blue rather than, see that dark blue right there? If you use this color right here rather than black, you get a sharper contrast. So I always like the blue better. And a blue background like this is not good. It's too light. And here's how you change that. You click the box here, one of these blank boxes. As you can see, I've already done this. You define custom colors, and then you drag that little star thing. You put your left click on your mouse and drag it. Hold your finger down on the left click, and then see in the right hand side where the color keeps changing. You get to the area where you see the colors approximately like what you want, and then you drag, left click and drag on this little triangle, and moving it up to get it lighter and lighter and lighter, and maybe about there. That's lighter than what's at what is an option. And then you click on add to custom colors, and then you use that. See, it's much better. All right, and then I guess that's the name of the color file. I have no idea what that means, but you can look it up and figure it out what it means. There's so many things to learn in BibleWorks. There's just so many things that I will learn sometime later myself. As you can see, that's a lot lighter now. So now you have to highlight the text first, and then you click on this A, and it says apply color to the browse window text. It only works there. All right, and then I've done that. The trouble is I don't know how to get rid of that color. Okay, repeat last copy command, copy selected text, search for a phrase, apply color to the text, open color selection window, or clear head highlighting. I'm guessing it's clear head highlighting. Let's see if that works. No, that didn't work. I don't know how you get rid of it once you've colored it. Okay, apply color to selected text. All right, well, that just did it again. Open color selection window. Well, what if you want to get rid of it? I don't know. Oh, remove color from selected verse. This thing right here. That's kind of a complicated way to get rid of it. All right, and now close. So now it's gone. So now you know how to remove it too. No program is perfect. This program is very close to perfect. Okay, cloning BibleWorks. This button brings up a second copy of BibleWorks, a whole second program. Obviously, it dedicates the memory space. So if you don't have, like, you know, at least a gig of RAM, this is not going to be a good idea. And it takes a long time. BibleWorks 8 takes a long time to load. It might not take as long in your system. I think it's a function of how many Bibles you've installed and how many, you know, how many customizations you've installed. All right, so see, this is a second full set of BibleWorks. That's kind of useful sometimes when you're looking at multiple passages and you want to have the full access and usage of the stuff in passage A versus passage B. All right, now how many times can you clone BibleWorks? I think it depends on your RAM. Okay, I'm not going to try and test that here because I'm afraid that it'll, you know, make the machine go wonko, because I'm already having problems recording with BibleWorks 8 as it is. So that's what this button does, cloning BibleWorks. All right, and as you can see, tooltips are not always working immediately. This is your favorites window, and I'm going to cover how to create favorites. These are the favorites I've created up here, and I'm going to be covering those in a future video, so I'm not going to explain that here. But this is like if you wanted to edit all of your favorites at once or look at all of them at once. But see, you can also get your favorites from down here. That's if you want to access them. All right, like if I wanted to switch from basic, which is what I'm in now, to my foreign language collection, which is one Bible from each language I can read or use. I can't read Indonesian, but I can use it. Okay. Then see, this is my foreign language collection. I picked one Bible from each language. And they have many more languages than the ones that I'm showing, okay? They have pretty much every language on the planet in the actual BibleWorks collection. So when you first install it, you'll see you have almost every language I've ever heard of, at least, is in there. Okay, maybe not all the dialects, but every main language. All right, so this is a version of what this will do, but this just selects. All right, so like if I want to go now to Italian, I'm getting all the Italian versions that BibleWorks has. And if I wanted to compare the Italian versions for which one is best. Okay, and so now I'm back to basic. Now we're on to our we finished the favorites. See, if you click on the arrow, you get to choose the favorites just like you do from here. And that can be kind of important because you might have done this with your results window because you're not using it. So then you can't access it from here, but you can access it from here. Or if you want to do that, you can do that. That's if you click on the actual icon rather than the arrow. This turns your version notes on and off. As you can see in the NAU, for example, the text changed. Watch. Look at the NAU. Look at this. All right. It changes. It's just changed with the notes on and off. Okay, and that only applies to your search version. So if I change the search version, which I can do very much on the fly without changing my favorites, by putting your mouse cursor on the version name, right click, and then make this the current search version, then if I toggle the notes, it'll show it for the KJV. Look at the KJV while I do this. I'm clicking on the version notes toggle. Oh, it's still doing it for NAU. Ah, there. See, it's also doing it for the KJV. All right, it's doing it for both of them at the same time. KJV doesn't show its notes the same way. Okay, those are translator notes now. That's what makes that important. Okay, and then you have the synopsis tool. I'm doing okay on my recording. This is very important, little baby. It's configured to your default search option in your favorites. Like right now I'm in basic and my default search option is the NAU. Okay, so the default, this is for the Synoptic Gospels. As you can see, it's displaying it in its own order. Okay, you also have a choice of button bars. Okay, but you have to do it per version window. Alright, and then up here you can scroll the events. They've targeted the events. Unfortunately you cannot, yeah, I guess you can. You can increase the window, see? So that you can look down at different passages. And if it's only covered in one of the, or two of the Bible versions, then that's all it's going to show. Here it's covered in 3 of them. Alright? So it shows. See, so that's really kind of handy, but your mouse wheel does not work in this window. You have to, unfortunately, use the scroll. You have to drag the scroll bar here in order to, that's putting your index finger on your left mouse button, keeping that finger down, and then putting the cursor, the mouse, over the scroll bar, which is very hard to read because it's so long, and then moving, keeping your finger pressed on the left mouse button as you do it. Okay, so like here, the Lord's Prayer is in 3, and unfortunately, like I said, you have to scroll to find it where it's in all of them. Like the Light of the World verse is in all 4 Gospels. You see how that works? That's really clever. Alright, you're showing the verse. You can also show the outline heading, but you have to do it per version. You can't do it pan version. And like, let's say you wanted to compare see, if you want to compare different translations also at the same time, then you have to show what are called the browse list boxes. And generally speaking, I don't like that show current verse thing. See what I'm getting rid of now? See, there are a lot of options. That's why this is so complicated. Okay, now that's basically like my browse window. See how I've matched it? Except for I've used these extra buttons, the show more buttons. Because you can't see any buttons if I don't say show more buttons. They don't show the default 2. Okay? So this is the way you can get it to look as much like your browse window as possible, and you do have to go through that every time. I think it saves it. Let's save this. I think the next time you open up the synopsis tool, it saves the last settings. We'll see. We're going to open it up again. It doesn't. It doesn't save your settings. That's an unfortunate thing. Okay? It has its own default. And you probably can reconfigure your initial, but I'm not sure how to do that. Alright? So that's how it always defaults to the beginning of the books. But this is useful. I use this in the Synoptics videos. I first configure my windows in advance, and then I do the video in BibleWorks 5. But BibleWorks 8 is substantially the same. Okay, so that's the synopsis tool button. That's what that does. Okay, the next one is to synchronize the windows. But since I've only got one window up here, then it's not really doing anything. Okay, that synchronizing the windows only works when you have more than one browse window. Okay, now let me show you. See, it's now showing up real small. So now I'm going to synchronize the windows. I'm clicking on synchronizing the windows. Now watch what happens when I change this. I change it to Psalm 88. And it didn't synchronize. But now it did. Okay, so that's the point. Is that when you click on synchronize windows, you have to do it after you've got 2 windows up. Alright, I don't know why you would want to synchronize those windows unless you're looking at another translation, maybe here. Okay, that might be an advantage. If you're looking at one translation here versus another translation here, that would be a use of it. Okay, now presumably this is a toggle So you click on Synchronize Windows a second time in order to undo the synchronization. And now if I want to change to Psalm 89, it'll change to Psalm 89, right, and seeing it didn't synchronize here. So it's a toggle. Alright, but that only applies if you've got more than one browse window already open. This next item is to export Bible text to a file. You first have to select the text before you can export it. So then you first select the text, and then it's saying, you know, here, you know, you want to export it, but what version do you want to export? That's kind of a sad thing because it's not automatically understanding you want to export what you just highlighted. Alright? And as you'll notice, it's also got a default range, which is the whole Bible here. You can literally export the whole Bible translation somewhere else. That's their default. You'll have to specify it here if you want to export a different range. So it does not look at what you've selected. It does not look at the browse window you're in. You have to literally select the version. And here you hold down again, you press down on your left mouse button, and you must scroll, keeping your finger depressed on your left mouse button while your mouse is over the scroll bar and you're holding, that's what's holding down the scroll. You cannot use your mouse wheel for this. Okay, and then you can pick from all the BibleWorks versions of Bibles that you've installed. Okay, and then you can save that export as a template, but it's only going to store the references, you know, the names of the verses. It's not going to store the verses. So that's kind of stupid. I don't know why anybody would want to do that. And you can export your notes and your cross references also. That's referring down here, see, to your notes. Okay, wait a minute. I'm going to have to say close. When it says export notes and cross references, I'm having trouble with my machine again. I'm going to have to shut off. Let me see if I can get this much done. When it says export notes and cross references, it means your notes window and everything in your notes window. And when it says cross references, it means everything in your cross references also. But my machine is hanging up now, which means that I've recorded for too long because it's going too slow. All of your cross references could also be exported to a file. And that's where I'm going to stop it. Okay, where we had stopped was we were talking about exporting to a file and how you had to specify your Bible references here. And you can save this as a template, but I don't see the point. You're only saving the references rather than the text. Maybe because you could just call up the template and it will actually export the text. That's probable. Alright. So if you wanted to save this, you didn't have to continually recall the verses, the same verses you're going to export, then that might be useful. And then presumably if you've done that, saved it as a template, you're going to get it, it's going to have a little button here that allows you to select your past choices. I don't know, I don't use this. Then this one was export notes and cross references. That's in case you wanted to do that. All right, but I'm not going to have that checked. Just pretend that you can check it. Pretend it was checked, because I have to show you what that means again. Your notes are right here. Any notes that you've got for the range that you've picked, and any cross references that are listed. That's pretty extensive. You know, that's going to be a pretty extensive document you're going to be exporting. All right, so that's what export to file does. Alright, now if I clicked OK, it would actually do that, so I'm not going to do that here. And it would do that only in the Portuguese, because that's what I've got selected, was the Portuguese. So you have to select only one version at a time, apparently. I don't think you can do... Let's see if you can... Yeah, you can only select one version at a time to do that. Alright, and you just select close if you don't want to do that, because obviously you don't, otherwise you're going to be, it'll probably take 5 minutes to export a whole Bible in that version. But that's a pretty powerful feature. It saves you a lot of typing. This of course is the copy window. We've seen that before. This is if you want a new editor. See, in other words, you've got your editor here, but if you wanted a floating editor window, and this is a very handy feature, okay, you could just create a floating window out of your current verse that you see showing in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, or you can click on new and it's going to give you a floating window. I'm a big fan of floating windows, but here's the problem with the floating windows. As you can see, your new floating window does not retain, see, look, down here I have configured the buttons, but a new window doesn't know the configuration of the buttons. So it looks like the configuration of the buttons is only good for the window that you've selected, which is a flaw in BibleWorks. I'm sure hopefully somebody would have told them, and they will have fixed it in version 9, because this is dumb. If you go to the trouble of changing all of your buttons here, they should become the default here. I'm sure there's a way to create that. So since you don't see that here, then you just click on this, looks like a dice of 6s, and at least you get all the buttons to show in your new window. Okay, so that's that selection, and that's what you can do. Floating windows are a good thing. They really are. Alright, so far I'm okay on time. Okay, the next button option is the keyboard. This is a BibleWorks keyboard, and I sort of showed you that in earlier versions. This is the default for English. You can map them differently here. That's a complicated thing, and it's very annoying to do, but you can remap them. And then you've got all these other languages that you can use for keyboards. Okay, you'll usually use English. It depends on what your native tongue is. And then you got Hebrew here. Alright, and then you got Greek here. And then if you hold down the shift key, you see what the shifted values are. Well, it's not doing that. It should do that. Alright, I don't know why it's not doing that. When you hit the shift key, cancel. Alright, when you hit the shift key, you're supposed to see the shifted values, but it's not showing them. I don't know why. It's not working. I don't know why. It works fine in BibleWorks 5. That's all I can tell you. It's not working here. Alright, and then here are your keyboard layouts, whether you can select which is your default keyboard. Alright, we've covered that before. Alright, so that's what that one did. And again, this BibleWorks keyboard is supposed to show the shifted values, and it's not showing them. And why it doesn't, I don't know. Okay, just a flaw in the program. Okay, parallel versions. This is kind of important. I haven't created any parallel versions, but see, what you could do is you could have that one be first, and you say okay to King James. Versions to display in parallel. Oh, you have to click on add. Alright, and then let's say you wanted to compare that to, I don't know, let's say Brenton, which isn't really a good idea. Let's pick NAU. I don't use this option because the multi-browser window does the same thing. So we'll add the NIRV, which I've never even used it. And we'll add the New Jerusalem. Okay, and so now we've got 3 parallel versions displayed. Alright, so that's an okay. So now you've set that up, and so now you get another floating window that's like the synoptic window, only it's for the Bible versions that you've selected, plus you've got your buttons here. Uh-oh, my computer's slowing down again. Only you've got your version options here. You've got buttons, and you can scroll through the text. See, verse by verse. Go back to your previous verse, next chapter, and see, it makes them uniform. This can be kind of handy if that's the way you like to read Bible. I don't read it this way, but a lot of people like this. Okay, this is book and book. See, it's scrolling. Alright, I don't particularly like that because I like to use my own version. I like to use just this because I can use my mouse wheel and see the versions this way. I'm using my mouse wheel to scroll instead of holding down the scroll bar with my left finger on my left mouse button, dragging it and holding it. Mouse wheel is much better. Okay, so we've covered that. We've covered parallel versions. Oh God. Okay, I'm going to stop again and we'll pick up in the next increment with the next button.